recreate Frieza's voice. You know?
Yeah, I agree. The original, like in the original series, this table's gonna collapse. That leg keeps scooting in. Yeah, but the original series, like the guy who voiced Frieza, I might be wrong about this. I might be remembering this wrong, but I'm pretty sure like the first few episodes he didn't have that like rasp.
Yeah.
And
he probably got it from trying to do the voice.
I mean, it's possible. But the guy that voiced Frieza in Super, he so of course he listens. They all listen to like who was the guy in the original series, and then we'll.
The dude that did Goku didn't listen for a fucking second, because those are two totally different voices.
It's is it Sean Schemmel?
Yeah.
Or whatever. I will say that Sean Schemmel, he can scream really well. Which, to be fair, is like 80% of the dialogue.
Right.
But yeah, if you listen to Goku in like Dragon Ball Super compared to like a Goku in like say like the Namek arc.
Yeah.
Is not the same at all.
Yeah.
It's like, well, even like I'd mentioned before, like the character is written totally different. Like in Dragon Ball Z, he was very like he was lighthearted, but he was serious when he needed to be.
Right.
And like
and then in Super, he's just a fucking idiot.
In Super, he's like a mental degenerate.
Yeah.
He's just like he's got like a half an IQ point. Just kind of rattling around up there.
It's just like as he gets stronger, he just gets dumber.
Eventually, he'll just be
a vegetable.
Super jacked. Just can't move. We have to give him a sponge bath every day. He can't wash himself. He's become too strong. That'll be the final saga, is him fighting his own mind and trying to break free.
We learned that all along the real fights we have are inside ourselves.
There's a lot of truth to that.
But this is like the whole time it's just like he really was like in a coma.
Oh yeah. It's like cuz like I think in the original Dragon Ball series, like the one that came out like in the 80s or whatever, like when Goku came to Earth, he like fell and hit his head.
Yeah.
So, that was like how he got here. So that would track. All that happened in his head.
Yeah. He's just laying there and he's got like all these tubes and stuff all in him.
We found this younger boy out in the mountains and he had cracked his skull open. Speaking of being in the mountains, Mary and I have been watching this show on Netflix called Alone. Do you know about it?
Oh, yeah. Like where they go out. Is that on Netflix?
It's on Netflix, yeah. So it's a bunch of like survival experts or whatever. And
we love that show.
So they go out into the wilderness and they try to survive and everything. And it's like the contestants on the show can only bring 10 items. So usually it's like a sleeping bag, bow and arrow, and paracord and things like that. And literally everything else they have to get for themselves. They have to build their own shelter, get their own food, all these other things.
Like, I brought a house.
Yeah. Like a bouncy house. You just blow it up, turn it upside down. So the season that we're watching right now, apparently there are several seasons of the show, but the season we're watching now takes place in British Columbia in Grizzly Mountain. And I think we're on episode like 9 right now, and there's only 4 people left.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts out with 10 people.
Right.
The first guy that they like quit or whatever, because like if it gets to a point where it's just too much for you, they give you a satellite phone and you can call like, come get me.
They're not like, hey, fuck you.
Yeah. The first guy that quit, he quit after day 6 because he thought he was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was like, yeah, 3 years ago I had a pretty severe heart attack, but I figured I could come out here and live in the wilderness.
What?
Who signed off on that?
His doctor's like, you did what?
It's like 45, 50-year-old dude had a fucking heart attack, and then he thought it would be a good idea to try and go live in the wilderness. And so it was like day 6, and I think what was happening was he was having a panic attack.
Yeah.
Which can feel like a heart attack. Like,
it might lead to a heart attack.
It could lead to a heart attack. So it probably was best that he got out of there. But, I think they're on like day 45, 46 now.
Yeah.
So they've been out there well over a month. And, the biggest hurdle that people are having is finding food.
Right.
And like they're all around this like lake, and nobody's really having any luck fishing, and people are like setting up fish traps, and those aren't working. And like there was one girl who like managed to snare like a snow rabbit,
right?
And so she ate that. But last night, the episode that we watched, the guy was he had built a boat, like out of like a tarp and like some wood and things like that. And it works. It's a boat.
Yeah.
But he was going out to check like the lake, go to the lake or whatever, and there was like a dead bird floating in the water.
I know what season you're talking about now.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, I'm going to eat that.
Ugh.
And so he grabs it and he starts like dressing it or whatever, and then he holds it in front of the camera, and it is just exploding with worms. Just parasitic worms just pouring out of this thing.
Pulsating.
And like, he's like, I think it'll be okay.
Ooh.
I mean, it's a tiny little bird too. Yeah. It's like a brown thrasher, like a little teeny tiny little thing.
There's a reason why it died.
Yeah,
and why nothing else was trying to eat it.
Yeah, so so he took it back to his camp, and he's like, I'm just going to boil the hell out of it, try and kill any bacteria or worms that might be in here, and he ate it.
Ugh.
So I guess we'll see in a couple episodes whether or not that was a huge mistake.
They did one, so most of those episodes they do them like up in Canada.
Yeah.
I think that one might be, that one's like up near, I think it was like Great Slave Lake.
Yeah.
Which is like in the middle of Canada, like up in like, what's the one that's like above Saskatchewan?
This season is like on kind of the west side.
Oh, okay,
of Canada,
so
kind of near Alaska.
Right, so they're like up in like Yukon, like is it out near there's like an island out there. Is that the one they're doing this season?
All I know is that they're on a big lake.
Okay, because they've done a couple of them. So there's this season's one is they're up in Labrador, which is up above. It's not Manitoba. The one out on the east coast. So the very top of the east coast portion up there.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched any of the episodes of that, but I know that's where they're at. And they did one where they were in Patagonia.
Yeah.
Which that was an interesting one. I like the ones where they do different, like, other countries than, like, North America. They did one in Patagonia, and they did another one where they were in Mongolia, and that was very interesting.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah.
Because, like, it doesn't look anything like here.
Like, it's like totally different landscape.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this before, but Mongolia is, like, if you just got transported to Mongolia, it would look like a different world.
Yeah, you would like, what planet is this?
I'm not on Earth anymore.
I like the idea of it. Like, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
To like, I've always been curious to learn. Like, would I be able to at the very least, build a shelter of some kind? It's
right.
Like, I definitely, if it was me out there and I was having to like get food and things like, I don't know how to fucking bow hunt or set up a trap for a rabbit, I would fucking die.
Right.
But at the same time, it was like watching him fish that dead bird out of the water, and he was just like, he was so thankful to have that.
Yeah.
And Mary and I had Cracker Barrel delivered to the house last night, so it was kind of like, it was like, well, we are not set up to live like that at all.
You're like, why are they running late?
But another thing that they, another one of the contestants ended up being medically extracted. Like, she didn't tap out; they had to come and get her.
They're like, you can't do this anymore.
Yeah, she was starting to get frostbite on her feet.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she, they were kind of talking about some of the challenges that they were facing out there. First and foremost being like shelter and food and things like that, but also just like the being alone, not having anyone to necessarily talk to,
right?
Not having anything to do,
right?
So it got me thinking. It was like, when you wake up, you have this laundry list of things you got to do,
right?
And it may not even seem like it. Even if you have a particularly like slow day,
right,
you probably still filled a lot of that day with doing things to entertain yourself,
right?
But you had access to those things,
right?
So if you're in like a survival situation, you're out in the wild. Say you've already got your shelter built, you've got some food stored away, and you're just kind of set up to survive for a few days. Now you're just kind of sitting there like, here we are,
yep,
in the log house that I built.
Yeah.
It's like, at least I don't have to go out and where the bears are.
Right.
But I'm also just kind of stuck in here in my head.
Was it that meme that was like, yo, demons, what's up? It's your boy.
I don't know. I thought it was really cool. I like, there's one guy who, he actually managed to shoot a buck.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
He dressed it clean. It got all of the meat off of it and everything, and he built a smoker like next to his campsite so that he could smoke the meat and you could save it for a long time.
Right.
And he also tanned the deer's hide by making oil out of its brain.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and he had it like in that little fleshy sack.
Yeah, a little flesh bag, and he's like rubbing it all over the deer's skin. He's like, "Oh, this is gonna be super nice," and I'm just like, well, "Good on you, dude." I don't, and like, I never would have occurred to me to melt the deer's brain and rub it on its skin. It's like some kind of fucking horror story we would tell each other. The Wendigo will melt your brain and smear it all over your skin to make a chair.
Yeah, you imagine like another deer seeing that, they're like.
Luckily for the deer, he doesn't.
There's something out here that does that.
Yeah. It's like, I'm fine with the bear eating me, but I didn't know that was going to happen. Thankfully, a deer doesn't have the intelligence.
Yeah. There's like a bear like.
Yeah, to really understand what that is, the weight of what that is. But that guy in particular, he had a good first day when they dropped him off, and the boat went away. He was like, "All right, here we go." And in that first day, he found like 40 pounds of like edible mushrooms and like shot a chicken. And he was like, "Oh, this is going all right." Everybody else is like, "I'm so scared." Yeah. It's a bear.
Like, there's nothing to eat.
There's nothing to eat. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do.
There's one where a dude shoots and kills a moose.
A moose?
Yeah, like a full-grown like cow, like a moose. And then, as you can tell, guess who probably won that season? Because that seems to be the name of the game with that particular show.
Yeah.
Is if you can get your hands on big game, like you're set. Because you're talking about hundreds of pounds of meat.
Yeah, especially if you can smoke it and store it.
Right.
I mean, you can just basically live in your shelter until all the days are up.
Right. But the biggest thing that they have an issue with when they hunt big game like that is that the meat is so lean that it doesn't have any fat content on it.
Yeah.
So
you still got to get like
so you're eating all this protein and everything, but you're getting no fat content, which you're still malnutritioned.
Yeah.
So a lot of them they have to go and supplement with like fish, but there's really no way. You can't be like, "Oh, I have a steady source of fish coming in." Yeah. Fish come and go on that show.
It's crazy to think. It's crazy that you as a human, because we are omnivores, you need so many different things.
Right?
You got to have vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, vitamin D. You got to have protein. You got to have fat. You got to have phosphorus and iron. And it's like, if we didn't live in this world where I could just go to Kroger and get those things, I would die.
Right.
A horrible death.
No.
Because, if you have a deficiency in any of those things, it always comes with some terrible disease attached to it.
Like scurvy.
Like scurvy, for instance.
Right.
Where your scars that healed up 10 years ago can just suddenly reopen.
Ugh.
Like even surgical scars.
Yeah. what horror film bullshit is this?
Yeah, like if you had like lap band surgery done, and that thing just lets
Your guts
loose,
just fall out.
because you didn't eat orange. There's one girl on the show who built a pit house where she dug a hole in the ground and then built over the top of that. And the idea there was that it could retain heat a lot better. She was like, you're only having to heat up, you're not having to heat up as much air because heat rises, of course.
Right.
So if you build on top of the ground, you're having to heat all of that air. But if you build underneath the ground, you're only having to heat up, like basically half of that.
Yeah, the big thing with that show too is, especially with building like the house, like building their like home and everything, is that they really have to calculate like what's my calorie expenditure going to be.
Yeah.
Building this structure, because if I don't have enough calories coming in, and I have all these calories going out, then I'm just going to wear myself down.
You're going to have no energy.
I'm going to have no energy to go out and get calories.
You're going to start like blacking out.
Right.
You're not going to be able to like think straight.
Right.
And that's when the bear gets you.
No. And then you become a nice little snack.
He's like, this will last me for a day. But almost everybody has had an encounter with a bear so far on the season that we've watched, and like close, like big ass grizzly bears.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy that shot the deer, as a matter of fact, he's got one that's been poking around his camp, which you can't have that.
No. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, because he's like in like this wooded area, right?
So he was going to go try and find the grizzly bear, and he did. He found him, and it charged him, and he sprayed it with the bear spray, and it was like, oh, fuck, it ran off. But it was like, man, what are you going to do? If you didn't have that bear spray, that would have been fucking it.
No.
That would have been it for a long time, because grizzly bears don't kill you quick.
No.
They just start eating you.
Right. It's like, what's that movie, The Remnant or The Revenant?
The Revenant, yeah.
Like, I got a feeling like if you actually got attacked by a grizzly bear, that's kind of how it would go.
It would probably be worse than that even.
Right. But like, I feel like it wouldn't be like, well, I guess it depends. Because if he like roared and like swiped you, like he'd probably like break your neck.
Yeah.
And you'd be like laying there on the ground paralyzed. He's like chewing on you.
Yeah, eating your ribs.
Yeah. And like you can't scream because like everything's paralyzed.
Yeah. The best thing would be like if he hit you in the side of the head and just scrambled your brain. Just killed you outright.
The season that they're on now up in like Labrador or whatever is that there's no grizzlies, but it's all polar bears.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is fucking worse.
They're worse, yeah.
Because polar bears are not omnivores.
Yeah, they're strictly carnivores.
Straight carnivores.
So they're not spending half their time looking for berries and figs. Yeah. They're spending all their time looking for you. Yeah.
And they don't hibernate.
They don't hibernate?
No.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. So they're hunting and eating
all year long. All year long. All year long.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's not like the cute little Coca-Cola bear either.
No, there's nothing like that.
No.
I remember seeing a video a long time ago where this guy, they put him in like a cage or whatever, and like let a polar bear come into like where he was. So like the cage is, of course, in between him and the polar bear. They didn't let a guy in a cage with a polar bear.
Good luck.
Yeah. But they were showing like the thing was like coming up to him or whatever, and it was like standing over him, and it's just like
how horrifying,
how fucking terrifying. Like no chance, zero chance against this thing.
It really gives you like an idea, because I think a lot of people have like this. They have this this neutered version of what bears are.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, I could take a bear.
No, you
can't.
can't.
No, you can't.
No, you can't. You couldn't even take a small black bear.
I don't care if it's 100-pound black bear. Yeah. That thing would fuck you up.
Yeah. You might chase him off.
Right.
But you're going to fight for it.
Right.
It's like here recently, those two guys that were hiking and got attacked by that grizzly bear.
Oh, those two teenagers? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the pictures of like...
Yeah, you sent them to me.
When they found him on the trail or
whatever. He
whatever.
mauled the top of his head.
Christ, man. It like... So there was two guys and they were hiking, and one of them got attacked by the grizzly bear. He like pounced on him or whatever.
Yeah.
And his friend jumped on the grizzly bear's back and started yanking on his ears. So he ended up getting the brunt of it because the grizzly bear's like, how fucking dare you?
The gall.
The unmitigated gall to jump on my back and fuck with my ears. But they both lived. They managed to chase it off. But the guy, he was recounting the story or whatever, and he was like, I could hear when its teeth would crunch my skull.
I guess, would you pull in the ears, or would you just try to take your fingers and, like, dig them into his eyes? I think that would be a better, like, if he's already, like...
Like, if you can blind him?
Yeah, like, if I can take this, just get that much of a finger into his eye.
That's got to be near the brain, right? I mean,
right, if I could just, like... just, like, get them both in both eye holes.
Yeah.
And just kind of...
Would you do, like, a scoop? Would you get the fingers in there and scoop back out?
Like, pull up on him.
He's a bear. Can you imagine just a bear charging through the woods and you're just holding on for dear life? And those things run like 40 miles an hour. He can carry you a good long way.
Like, even if you could, like, get one finger, like, in his, like, blind him with one finger.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a better idea than, like, yanking on his ears.
I don't know, man. Nature is so brutal. I've seen videos where, like, like zebras and shit will get attacked at, like, watering holes by, like, a crocodile.
Yeah.
And I saw one where the crocodile jumped up out of the water and bit the zebra on the stomach and pulled all of its guts out.
Ooh.
And the zebra went to run away, and it had its guts trailing behind him. And so the zebra reaches down and bites the rest of his his own guts off, so that he could keep running. So if a zebra could bite his own guts off, I imagine a bear is not going to be too concerned about one eye.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you would need to get both, because if you can blind both of his eyes, then that gives you a chance to get away.
At the very least, he can't see anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's going to be so concerned that it hurts.
It hurts and I can't see. And then you hit him with the bear spray.
Yeah.
Should have a bad day, Mr. Bear.
You fucked with the wrong one, bear.
I saw a video, too, not long ago, where a guy got charged by a grizzly bear, like, in his yard.
Ugh.
And he had a shotgun. He had, like, a double-barrel shotgun out there with him. And he fired a warning shot, which a bear's not going to give a shit about that.
You need to shoot the bear.
Yeah, well, then the bear started charging him, and he shot the bear probably from about 5 yards in the face with the shotgun.
You know how close that is?
That's really fucking close.
Right.
That's like from me to that piano right there. And the bear tumbles and falls, and then gets back up and keeps charging after the guy with fucking smoke billowing out of its head, like some kind of hell demon. So you shoot a grizzly bear in the face with a shotgun, and now he's just mad.
Right.
And now he's embarrassed because he fell down.
I saw a video that got posted, and it was of this guy, and he looks like he's maybe like out in like Colorado or something.
Yeah.
Out in the mountains. And the video starts out, and he's got, it looks like maybe a 45 or something. He's pointed it at this mountain lion, and it's a big fucking mountain lion, like a 150-pound mountain lion.
Wow.
And it's just walking up on him, and he's like
it's coming to him.
Yeah, he's telling it to fuck off, and it's not go. And then all of a sudden it charges him, and then he shoots and he misses.
Ooh.
And then it stops, and then he shoots again
because it was just a loud noise. It was like, wait,
and
what
then
was that?
He shoots again, and I think it kind of like grazes it, and then it turns around and walks off. I was like, ooh.
Shit your fucking pants, man. They're tough animals. I mean, they got to be, right?
Yeah.
Because
they don't live in houses.
No, they don't. We do.
They're out in nature.
Yeah. We are soft and fragile. They live out in nature, and it's like, these people that I'm watching on the show are, losing 60 pounds.
Right.
And, are going insane, going crazy, and like
they're going to the weight that your body probably should be.
Yeah, well, I mean...
like if you were living out in the wilderness.
Yeah, if that was where you were living. But, like, the bear, he's totally fine now. That's where he's supposed to be.
Right.
And he's fat.
Right.
Like, not only is he eating enough, he's eating too much. So, no, we are not on the same playing field with these things.
Well, I mean, the reason why we are where we are is because we're able to think.
Yeah. We were able to figure out.
We're able to figure out the puzzles.
Right.
It's like, it's like when people used to hunt mammoths, like way, way back hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
It's like there wasn't like one dude ooga booga and like poking at the fucking mammoth. There wasn't like a caveman like poking at a mammoth
guy,
with
like
a
stabbing in the ankles.
There's probably one dude that did that, and he like slapped him with the trunk and like broke his neck.
Yeah, twisted him up like a pretzel.
Yeah, and all the other cavemen went,
That's not the answer.
That's not how we do this. And so they were like, oh, we run it off a cliff.
Yeah.
That's how we do this.
Yeah, the Native Americans used to do that to buffalo.
Yeah.
They would run them up to a cliff, and the buffalo
like
would just
funnel
they
them
would
off
just
the cliff.
run off the cliff.
Right, and they would go down.
And then go down, you get the meat.
Right.
And you're set for like a long time.
Yeah.
Thousands of buffalo just ran off the cliff. There's probably one buffalo at one point who was like, wait a second, there's a cliff here. But at that point, it was too late.
Yeah, it's too late. He's probably like in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, but I mean, like if you as a human are being chased, you probably, especially if you're familiar with the area, right?
Right.
You know there's a cliff over there.
Right. I'm not running to the cliff.
It's like, I'm not going to run to the cliff because there's nowhere to go once I get there.
Fucking Frank ran us off the cliff.
Yeah. But a buffalo is just run.
Right.
There's my only concern is running. I saw where there was a buffalo who was being attacked by a pack of gray wolves, like timber wolves, and there was like, I don't know, 10 wolves on him, and he's still kind of tanking along or whatever.
Yeah.
And this other buffalo runs up behind him and trips him.
What a fucking piece of shit.
And then runs away.
What a fucking asshole.
So I don't know if in that situation the buffalo like saw what was going on and thought to himself like, if I trip him, he'll get eaten and I can get away. Even though all the wolves are already ahead of him.
Like they're not even concerned with you.
They're concerned with you. I don't know if that was the case or if that buffalo is just that fucking stupid that he was so concerned with running that he ran straight through the wolf situation.
Right.
And fucked his friend over.
I don't think that was his friend.
Clearly not, no.
Or maybe he was like, I'm just going to make this quick because I've already got you.
Yeah. Or like, maybe him and that buffalo had beef. It's like, now's my chance. I'm going to get this motherfucker.
Like, I told you I was going to get you.
I thought it would be cool, like, because we're watching the show or whatever, and I guess they kind of go up into, like, British Columbia quite a bit, and, like, Alaska in that area. I think they should do one, like, on a desert island. Like a tropical island survival situation, right? Because everybody's like, "Oh man, well, like Castaway. Like if I washed up on an island, like how would I survive?"
Right.
Right. I think that a guy who would be perfect for that show is the primitive technology guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the dude who's like forging iron out of creek slime.
He's like, "Did you know you can do this?" And he like builds a chair like out of the sand.
Yeah, he built a trebuchet.
Yeah, like I didn't. Why do you know how to do that?
Yeah, why do you know how to do that? One of my favorite videos of his is he builds this like shack, but the walls are like mud. It's like mud walls, and like he put like clay tile roof over the top of it. And he built like a heating system from the fire outside that would heat his bed underneath the floor and then come out of a chimney in the back of the thing. So it was like that guy obviously would do just fine. Like as long as he had access to like clay, like he would be fine.
Yeah, I feel like Alone is really a better show than like, because I remember the first ones that they sort of started doing, it was sort of like gimmicky, was the Naked and Afraid ones, which we used to watch those a lot too.
Oh really?
Yeah. Which they were okay. They did, the reason why I liked some of those is because they didn't do like Arctic one. You're naked, like they can't.
Yeah, they can't put you in Antarctica.
They can't send you up there.
Negative 20 degrees,
right.
Butt naked. Yeah.
So they would do like Africa and like Guatemala and like all these deserted places,
well, like temperate regions,
right? And so it was interesting to see like those areas, like the Serengeti or something like that, where they would take and they would take like all the thorns, like the thorn bushes and everything, and they would make like a big circle around where they were at. And they would put the fire in the middle of it because you have to have something that's between you and the fucking lions.
Yeah.
Right?
And the baboons.
And everything else. So it's like this 7-foot tall, like thorn ring that they're sleeping in. And like at night you could hear like a hyena like coming around the outside of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Those
Mamma
things,
mia.
Yeah. Those fucking things are scary too. Hyenas.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure they have more bite force than a crocodile.
Yeah, is it a hyena has the highest bite force? Or they're like right up there, right?
I think the only thing that has a higher bite force is like some kind of turtle.
Yeah. Isn't like a gorilla has a really high...
Gorillas, yeah. They have very high bite forces as well. It's kind of funny considering like all they do is eat like fruit and shit.
Right.
But they're still equipped to crush another monkey's skull.
Right. I think that's... If there's one thing I would not want to fight... Like, if they were like, you have to fight an animal. Like,
but we're going to pick an animal for you to fight.
Yeah,
but you can pick one to, like, omit.
Yeah, omit.
Yeah.
I'd be like, a gorilla. I don't want to fight a gorilla. Because you're going to be fucked with a lot of other stuff, but he has so many tools to fuck you up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to be worrying about 7 different things this animal can do. Yeah. Like, if I'm fighting, like, a lion, like, I have to be worried about the teeth
and the claws.
Yeah. With a gorilla, I have to be worried about a punch, a slap,
a kick. He can choke me.
He can choke me. He can rip my fucking arm off and beat me to death with it. He can bite the fucking top of my head off.
Like biting off the top of a cupcake. Like it wasn't even there.
Yeah, there's too much stuff that he can do.
The gorilla just charged you. He just like Homer Simpson grabs your neck and just fucking. And you're like,
was he like, why you little? Oh, good. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy to live the safe, sheltered life that I live.
Right.
I mean, it's probably good to have survival skills, but I mean, the reality is, when will you ever have to really display those?
Right.
Because, like, the chances of you being in that situation, they're not zero.
Yeah.
But they are extremely low. So nobody can really fault you if you find yourself in a survival situation you don't have.
Well, and really up until even during the 1800s, there really wasn't any, like, type of, like, law enforcement, especially not in, like, the Wild West.
Oh, no.
Like, you just had some
You had the sheriff.
Yeah, wild Chuck coming through, and then he's, like, raping and pillaging.
Yeah.
And then you have some dingbat sheriff. It's like, meet me outside at noon.
At noon. Yeah. We're in 10 paces and turn around and shoot each
fucking
other.
Arrest him. Like, what are you doing?
He's right there. That's the guy.
Even during that, there wasn't really any like type of somebody that's like, hey, we're going to arrest you. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, you think like throughout history that wasn't the fucking case.
Yeah.
There were no police.
There wasn't like an entity of people who ensured that kind of thing didn't happen.
Like you couldn't a ship full of Vikings couldn't come over to like Savannah, Georgia, and like get out and start hacking people up.
Yeah.
Like they can't do that anymore.
Right.
But for a mass majority of history,
they could.
They
absolutely could have done that.
It happened all the time.
You're just constantly on fucking alert.
Right.
For anything.
You're over there in fucking Ireland eating your fucking potatoes and everything, and all of a sudden there's these people coming up with fucking horn hats on.
They're speaking some gobbledygook language, smacking people with axes.
Yeah, it's like that has been most of history. Like up until recent, like we haven't lived this privileged life that we currently live, where you really don't have to worry about somebody fucking killing you all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, so you had to be worried about other people killing you, and then also like the plague.
Yeah.
And
the animals
that live around you.
You haven't driven them out of their territory yet.
Or you might like twist an ankle and get like gangrene and it just rots off and
you're
done.
Rot to death. They got you all like wrapped up in some hot ass bed. I think back then,
like animal skins everywhere.
Yeah, like a straw bed.
Yeah.
I just feel like, like the pilgrims and stuff, they wore those clothes all the time.
Ugh.
Like to bed, you're in even the hat.
Yeah,
just
your
like,
fucking stupid buckle hat. Ugh. And everybody wore like the fucking they wore like those long nightgown things all the time. So you'd pull your fucking wool pants up over over these.
Why did they layer up so much like that? Was it that cold back then?
I don't know.
It couldn't have been.
It couldn't have been that cold. It couldn't have been.
Because it's still in the summer. It still had to get low 80s, high 80s,
right?
Something around there.
And it wasn't like they didn't have like zippers. Zippers weren't invented yet.
No, it took you like 15 minutes to get dressed.
So you had
on all your layers.
Some button fly pants, or you'd have to like button up your fucking pants.
Yeah.
And,
buckle your pants.
Yeah,
buckle
and
your
God
shoes.
forbid, like you get some type of like stomach ache.
Oh,
and then,
you got to start getting all that off.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no.
And then you didn't have toilet paper. There's no such thing as toilet paper.
Oh, fuck.
So everybody just walking around with shit butts all the time.
Unbathed, shit-caked asses.
Ugh.
No wonder they were just killing.
And these hot wool pants.
They were just killing each other all the fucking time.
Everybody's just fucking miserable.
Oh, that sounds
Give me something for the pain
awful.
and let me die.
Yeah. The Native Americans had it right. You just wear the bare minimum.
Right.
Hunt the food when you need it, and then that's it.
Yeah.
We don't have to fucking torture ourselves this way.
And then it really wasn't any better for the people that lived in fucking cities. It's like you either deal with that like out in the fucking in some woods somewhere in fucking Massachusetts.
Right, yeah.
And then it's either that or you go live in a fucking city in like this tiny little sliver of a fucking house. Mm-hmm. You carry around you got your little fucking stupid nightcap on, and you're carrying around a fucking
the candle on the thing there. Yeah.
And then like you shit and piss in a chamber pot, and then in the morning you dump it out into the street, like right in front of your door.
Right in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's all dumping their shit piss pots out in the street. Yeah, we are very lucky to live in the world that we live in.
Yeah.
Things like plumbing. Like I can even remember like when you couldn't get Cracker Barrel delivered to your house.
Right.
They didn't do that.
You had to go get it.
You had to go to where Cracker Barrel was. Even then it was like, oh, I gotta go all the way out there and get this food that is cooked for me.
Yeah. You know? Everything kind of tastes like onions.
Yeah. Everything's quite oniony. I've always thought too, but like because I watched Castaway recently, and his thing was, he tries to build a raft to get off the island towards the end, and it was like, well, what are your options? Like, do you try and raft out into the Pacific Ocean?
Yeah.
And hopefully get seen by something.
That you really don't have any idea of kind of where you are.
Yeah.
In relation to anything.
Yeah, I can't look up at the stars and be like, oh, I'm approximately 400 miles east of wherever.
It's like if I'm in the Pacific, like if you can track the sun, you're like, oh, well, I would want to go east because that's where the United States is, right? So.
But you could be at the equator.
Yeah. But you could be in the fucking Philippines, and that's a long fucking way to go.
You're like, I think I see land, and it's like Japan. Yeah. And they kill you because you're a round eye.
You like land on another deserted island. What if
like an uncontacted tribe?
What if he had like crash landed onto like like a deserted island, and it just happened to be one of those islands that still had like the fucking Army of the Rising Sun still on it?
Yeah,
and they
like holdouts from 1945. I've always heard that the Japanese people, like mainland Japan, they do not like it when Americans come over there. Like, they don't like white people.
Yeah.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah, it's reasonable. There's a lot of white people I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that, for sure. But I think it's so interesting when you start considering, like, especially as Americans, because we grow up in this country and they tell us like you can go anywhere, you can do anything you want to do,
right?
And like, all the other countries are like you can't make that rule for us,
right?
Don't come to my fucking country,
right?
And then you go over there and they like fucking auto warm your ass,
yeah.
And then it's like, as Americans, we're like, what? They can't do that.
Yeah.
Go get them. It's like that's their country,
right?
We kind of can't intervene with that,
right? Well. And you got to understand, too, probably the people that are going to Japan are like the weeboos.
I thought that, too.
Yeah.
I thought that, too. Because,
they're like carrying around their waifu pillow and everything.
Oh, my God. It's like prop anime swords and stuff.
Ugh. And it's all the same type of person, too. It's all, and you got to think that most Japanese people are like, ugh, that's what America is? Gross.
It's just all those walking around.
Yeah.
Somebody, I saw a post a while back where somebody was like, it was like, imagine if somebody went to America, if a Japanese person went to America and dressed and talked like Peter Griffin. It's like, that would be the same thing as what you're doing when you come over here. And like, you know, on the whole, like Japanese women are not attracted to white men.
Yeah.
And on the whole, white men have like an Asian fetish.
Yeah.
It's very common, like with white men.
That's true.
So they go over there and they're like, I'm going to I'll be exotic to these Japanese ladies.
Yeah, they're like, ugh.
And they're just like, get the fuck away from me, you gross pig.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, nobody wants to fuck me anywhere. They also have diaper cafes in Japan. Japan's a weird place, you guys.
It is. It's odd.
It's
they
a
do
very
a lot of
weird
odd
place.
stuff.
They have used panty vending machines. Did you know that? Yeah. So you can go up to get you a Coke and a pair of used panties.
I take it they don't have like used boxer brief vending machines.
None of those.
It's like shit-stained boxer briefs in there.
With like crusty residuals on the front. Why is it, do you think, that men are so, like, they're so gross when it comes to women? And women, like, and not all men, but a lot of men are really just like, like that.
Like a fucking goblin.
Yeah, towards women.
Yeah.
But there's like no women are like that towards men. So it's got to have something to do with sex drive, right?
I think it has to do something with like the chemistry in your brain.
Yeah.
Like it has to be like the way that the hormones in your brain are like sending signals like procreate. Like it doesn't fucking matter. Like,
and the signals just start going everywhere.
Right.
So you get like these things where you're like, I want to like put my wiener on a lady's foot. Like, I don't know what needs to happen.
Well,
I just got to do something.
I think a lot of it is too is that there's probably a lot of guys that are not they don't have or they don't tend to have a lot of intercourse.
Yeah.
And I think that it fucks them up.
It reaches like critical mass.
Right. It reaches critical mass, right? And I think we may have talked about this
We've touched
before.
on that before too.
Right?
So I think like maybe the key difference there is like for men, if you want to go and have sex, you really got to put in a lot of work.
Right.
In order to do that. But if you're a woman and you want to have sex, really it's just kind of like going to the store and picking out the one you want. So it could be that.
That's not all women,
That's
though.
not all. Not every woman can do that.
Not all women can do that, all right?
And not all men have to work that hard.
Exactly. I had heard somebody was talking about, I guess they were talking about like, and I'm so glad I didn't have to deal with this. I'm so glad that I found my wife in high school.
Yeah.
So I got very lucky. But a lot of like the guys that do like online dating and everything is like 20% of the men get 80% of the women. So obviously 80%, there's a very particular thing that women are looking for.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a lot of guys are just like, like I don't, it doesn't really matter. I mean, like, are you just an average person?
Do you have a vagina?
Yeah, exactly.
I can close my eyes.
Yeah, a vagina.
A vagina.
Yeah, I think it's just the way that like your brain is especially too, like as a young man.
Yeah.
Like as a young man, like you're just constantly getting bombarded.
Yeah, with hormones.
Like all the time.
Yeah.
And I've never been a woman, so I don't know.
Right.
But I would imagine it's totally different for bull. You got to understand, like the consequences for sex are so much higher for women than it is for men.
Absolutely.
Like guys, it's just like, Rah!
Yeah.
and then
you can just walk away.
And then you can walk away. But for a woman, it's like, well, now you have a child that you for 18 years that you have to care for.
And the pregnancy thing too is
right.
is
and
torture on a woman's
torture.
body.
Like your body has to create this thing.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but then you have to birth it. Mm-hmm. Which
so you're not even done yet.
Which isn't fun.
You got to get it out of you somehow.
Exactly.
And it fucks up their hormones real bad.
Yeah.
Like women get
it's just like this hormone dump.
Yeah, women get like postpartum depression's real common. They get all kinds of like mental problems and health issues and stuff.
Yep.
Pregnancy on the whole kind of scares the shit out of me just because there's so much that can go wrong.
Right.
Even after the baby's born, it might have something that they could have never caught. Like, oh, he had that 1 in a million thing that.
Yeah. That's fucking life, though, because you could walk out of your door right now.
Get hit by a meteor.
Yeah, and get hit by a fucking meteor. And
that's happened to people.
Die. All right. You could be like 10 miles away from a thunderstorm and get struck by lightning.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. It's like life it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's very fucking
there's no
messy.
Guarantees.
There's no guarantees in anything. So it's like either you take the chance to like have a child,
right,
like, or you don't. It's one of the other because you can't have it anywhere in the middle.
Can't have it both ways.
Right. You can't. It's like the old say, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
Which I've never understood that saying because why else would I want to have fucking cake?
So I have an issue with that saying as well because for a long time I didn't understand what it meant.
Right.
The idea. This is a bit of a segue, everyone. I'm sorry, but the idea behind the saying is if you have it's nice to have cake.
Right.
Right. But if you eat it, you don't have the cake anymore. It's gone.
Take a more cake.
Well, I think the point is like, I think it's just a way to say you can't have it both ways.
That's a really dumb saying.
It is a super dumb saying.
Why else would I have fucking cake?
Yeah, it's like a decoration.
Yeah, it's not like I'm not going to put it on my table and be like, oh, look at this cake that I have.
Like, oh, can I have some? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
That's my cake.
Yeah. It's like, you do understand that's a perishable item. Like if you don't touch that, it's going to get real nasty after a while, right? It's going to get moldy.
Isn't it crazy that that's what happens to things if you leave it alone?
Right.
Like you take a
like if you just left yourself alone, if you just went outside and just lay down on the ground
and didn't move,
you would just rot away.
Yeah, you just like, why? That's so. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, everything is like that. Everything just deteriorates and just turns into gross, stinky mush. Every single thing.
What was it we talked about? Instead of the crab cycle, it's the poo cycle.
Yeah, everything turns to poo eventually. It's true. I mean, so the reason that things rot, of course, is because of bacteria.
Right.
So you always have the bacteria on you.
And then bacteria also dies, which is then eaten by more bacteria.
That's what farts is.
Right.
That's what farts is.
That's what farts is.
That's maybe the single most unintelligent thing ever said on this podcast.
I think that's right up with how many electricities are in a computer.
Yeah, but I said that in earnest. That's what farts is. I mean, yeah, it's like when you eat something, right?
Yeah.
You have bacteria in your stomach. Like, remember, I carpet bombed mine and had to have it replenished.
Yeah.
So that bacteria eats the stuff in your stomach and helps digest those things. But those bacteria let off gas, which in turns into a burp. So when you burp, you're burping out a bacteria's fart.
Right.
So everything's just poop and butts and farts. It's all the way from the top to the bottom. It's just gross butts, farts, poop. It's all everywhere.
Exactly.
The poop cycle. It's very, very real.
We should start coming up with shirts and then make these shirts. like
that's what farts is.
That's what farts is. And just have one that says the poo cycle.
The poo cycle.
And then
if we ever start doing merch, we'll do those.
How many electricities are in a computer?
they have these places called body farms where they will take cadavers and lay them out in the sun, just out in the elements, and study like the different like phases that it goes through.
Isn't that like? It's weird that I don't like that because I don't like the thought of that happening to my body.
Really?
Because I'm very attached to what this is.
It's all you've ever known.
It's all I've ever known, right? So I don't like the idea of just my body like decomposing out in like the sun.
I mean, yeah, it's super gross, but like when I think about it, it's like I'm already dead, so
Right.
it's not like I'm not experiencing that. Yeah.
But I guess another thing too is like I also don't like the idea of somebody pumping me full of like fucking chemicals and then me just like laying in this casket.
Yeah,
that seems very unnatural to me too.
Every open casket like wake I've ever been to or whatever, like it just looks uncanny.
Right.
You know, because they have to reconstruct the face and stuff like that.
Right.
Because like your skeleton, your bones, your musculature and fat deposits in your face, all that goes away real quick when you die.
Right.
So they got to like, I don't know, put moss or something under your skin to kind of make you look like a person
This
again.
makes my skin crawl thinking about it.
It's so weird. And like the skin is like very like thin and like very pale.
I can't. I would rather be cremated.
Yeah, me too. Because it's weird looking going up to a casket. It's somebody, you know, if
it just turns my fucking stomach.
Yeah,
thinking
you
about
go
it.
up and you're like, I knew this person, and now they're like a marionette puppet version of themselves. It's very, very strange. I don't like the idea of an open casket funeral.
No, I don't either. It's not.
I'm dead. Don't look at me.
Yeah. I don't know. Just
how
the whole,
embarrassing.
Like, I can't with that.
Yeah, I definitely think I would rather be cremated.
Yeah, either that or like I've talked about with Allison, like doing like one of those tree things where like stick you in a pod and essentially the tree uses you to grow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I thought that was really cool too.
Like I would rather like my body be used for something.
When we were little, you said you wanted to be launched out of a cannon into the ocean.
Yeah.
So at the very least, you'd give us like one last spectacle. What if the cannon like malfunctioned and it just exploded?
And just killed everybody in the crowd.
Parts of you just rained down.
Yeah, I remember I said I wanted to be launched like out of like one of those like man cannons, like into the coffin.
Into the coffin. Like they had like an artillery strike.
Like you just go wham like that and you hit it and it closes and puts you in the ground.
Everybody's like, yay!
It's like this mangled mess.
I don't know. I mean, like the idea of like, you know, having to like buy a coffin and like pay for a service and like
it seems like a lot of financial stress on something that is
like
already
the people that I'm leaving behind, you know, they're already having to deal with the fact that, you know, I died or whatever. And I would like to think that the people that love me would be upset by that.
Right.
But so I really don't want them to have to like, oh, got to deal with the fucking legality of all this garbage, you know.
Right. Well, it's like, and that's why it's important that you go get life insurance.
Yes, get life insurance.
Get life insurance. It's very cheap. It doesn't call most of the time your employer will offer you some type of life insurance.
Yeah. And like some of it's like, you know, I like my previous job, of course it may have been because of the nature of the job, but I had a $500,000 insurance policy. Mm-hmm. And I think I was paying $12 a month for it.
Yeah, mine's very cheap. So like I pay like $4 a month and I think it's like 8 times my annual salary on top of there's like 2 other different life insurances that are provided. So it's like upwards of like $750,000 in life insurance.
There's absolutely no reason to not have life insurance.
Right, exactly. Because my whole idea for life insurance, like if I die, that income is not there anymore. Right. So it's like I want to give enough that you, number one, you can take care of the funeral and take care of any of the expenses. You can pay off all of the debt, the house, everything else. Everything is in the clear. Right. So you have no type of expenses at all. Then it's just whatever money you're bringing in is the money that you're bringing in. Yeah. And then to pay for my daughter's college if that's where she wants to go.
Because you don't want like you don't want to be, you know, if you're one of the people lucky enough to reflect on your life when you die and you're not being eaten by a bear or some shit like that, you don't want to be laying there thinking like, I can't believe that my family is going to have to struggle so badly.
Right. That's the last thing I want.
Yeah. You want to know like, oh, they're going to get
they're going to be okay.
They're going to get like $1 million. Right. They're going to be fine.
They're going to be sad, but there's going to be a lot of money.
And you're like, oh, wait, the government gets some of that. Motherfuckers! I'm dead. Can't you get your hands out of my pockets for one moment? I told Mary, I was like, how come like I can't just be buried? Like if I die, like you wake up one morning, I died.
No.
Oh, he's dead. Why can't you go dig a hole in the backyard and put me in it?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, shit.
There has to be like this whole process.
Yeah, there's got to be this paperwork, and like the government has to get involved. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why? I'm not a person anymore. I'm dead.
Right.
You can do whatever you want.
Well, I mean, isn't the whole process of like they've bastardized the whole process of being alive anyway? Where it's like you're born and they're like, oh, here's your government issued number.
Yeah.
Like, don't forget that you're going to need this for anything you want to do.
Yeah. So that we can track everything to you.
Right.
It's basically a social credit score before China did theirs.
And they're like, hey, also, you have to have an address that we can come to and arrest you at. Because if you don't, that's also illegal.
And then we'll just put you in the house where we keep all the other people in the same one big house.
Yeah. Isn't that fucking, it's odd. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like, when did they start doing, there's no way that they came over to America and they're like, all right, here's your social security number.
Well, no, because the people who came to America were trying to get away from that kind of thing.
Exactly.
And they said, hey, if we end up having a two-party political system, it's going to get really bad.
Yep.
And then, 180 years later.
Well, a two-party political system is just like the illusion of choice.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, neither one of them are really any different from the other one. One of them's like, I mean, it's literally the same thing. They're both the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, neither one of them are interested in helping anybody.
Both parties are authoritarian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both parties want to tell you what you can and can't do.
And it's so amazing to me how, like, they've made it very obvious and very clear.
Yeah, they're not even hiding it anymore.
They're not hiding it. It's like, we don't give a fuck about you.
We don't give a single fuck about you.
We give no fucks about you. It's like, and we want your money.
Yeah.
It's like, give us your money and fuck you.
And once you die, we'll take your money.
Exactly.
We're getting your money.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way around it.
And it's like, and we've proven time and time again that we're going to take your money and we're going to spend it frivolously. Like, yeah, we'll just do whatever we want to with it.
And then we're going to turn around and offload the cost on you.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody said that a gallon of milk is $40 now.
Well, I mean, it just goes to like, it's amazing to me that people are still fighting this fight.
This us versus them thing.
Yeah, this us versus them thing.
Yeah.
When everybody should look at DC and be like, oh, it's us versus them.
Yeah.
Like, it's us versus the political ruling class.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's turned into.
Yeah. So once they get done like having their televised debates where they call each other a Nazi and call each other a pedophile and this, that, and the other.
And libtards and snowflakes and everything else.
They leave the debate hall and they go get in their limousines and they meet up at the same place for dinner.
Yeah, and they wear their fucking masks and go to their fuck parties.
Yeah,
and
get blowjobs under the table while they drink kid blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, all the rest of us are like, you're a piece of shit because you like that guy.
Like, I don't like Blue Tie Man.
Blue Tie Man bad. Red Man 2 scoop ice cream. Go Fifi.
It's sort of like amazing to me that we're still fighting this fight. When I mean, I feel like they've made it pretty painfully obvious.
Yeah.
It's like, because it'd be a different story if they were actually using the tax money to like build structures for people in inner cities that helped them.
Yeah.
To get these people out of poverty.
Yeah.
To help everybody, but that's not what's happening.
It's not where that money goes.
They're giving the illusion that that's what they're doing.
Right.
And then if you don't want to give them any more of your money because you know that they're spending your money frivolously and they're not actually putting it to the things that they say that they're putting it to, then they turn around, well, like, you don't like poor people.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't like you.
Yeah, they call your morality into question.
Exactly. Where it's like, if for a second, if they got rid of all their little pet projects and all that other bullshit that they'd stick in all these different, it's like, was it they had like a $50 million something or another that they were using to study pigeons on cocaine or some shit like that?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they had to spend that money somewhere.
Right. It's like, why? And it's they keep giving the money. They're like, oh, here, keep taking more of the money. Yeah. It's like that expense never goes away because the government doesn't really have to produce a good in order to give money to anybody.
Yeah.
They just take from everybody. So they're not actually experiencing any pain of actually producing anything.
Right. You know, the thing that you always hear too is like infrastructure. We pay taxes for infrastructure. It's like, go look at the fucking roads. Go take a 10-mile drive.
Right.
And tell me the state of the roads.
Right.
The job it's funny because the job that I have now, I kind of have a little bit of insight into kind of how all that works, and you would not believe just the red tape and the bureaucracy behind all of this. It is so needlessly complicated to fix a road. It's unfucking believable. Not from like an engineering standpoint. Just from like okay, who do we got to make happy in order to make this happen?
How many palms do we got to grease?
Exactly.
Right.
It's fucking unreal.
Well, it's sort of like when I was in the military, we had a site that you could go to, and it listed out everything that you could purchase. Like, so when people in the supply department would purchase something, they went to this site, and they're like, oh, we need like 100 like coffee cups or something like that, and they would jack the fucking prices up on everything. So like a toilet seat costs $500.
God almighty.
Yeah, and like a coffee cup costs like $40 fucking dollars for a fucking coffee cup.
How nice was the toilet seat?
They broke all the time. Yeah, they're shitty toilet seats. And like a box of pins was like $25. Like a box like 12 pins.
It's like Bic pins.
They're not even big pins. They break all the fucking time.
Yeah.
You can't hardly fucking use the damn thing.
It just comes in a white box.
It's like a Skillcraft
says
pin
on it.
Yeah. And so that just goes to show you, like, they're not interested in making things affordable or making them, like, you would be better served going to Walmart and getting the shit that you need.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, so my job in the military, like, the main thing that I did was I would repair circuit cards. So I would have to remove, like, diodes and IC chips and all that stuff from these circuit cards and then replace them with good parts. So I'd have to troubleshoot it and then replace the parts.
Yeah.
And so we had one where I went and I took the IC chip off of this card, and so I would go in and I would reorder the part or whatever. So then I'd calculate, oh, we saved this much money by me replacing this part. It's sort of like the way that they justified the program existing, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I would go on and it would give the part number. I'd go in and look in the drawer. If I had it there, then I would be able to pull it out and replace it, and then I would put another one in order.
Right.
But sometimes we didn't have them. Sometimes it was just a part that we just didn't carry.
You didn't have, yeah.
Right. And so we would call over to the on base people, and we'd say, hey, do you have this part? And if they said no, then we would order it online, and then it would get shipped in. There was a particular IC chip that was, I think it cost $1,500 to order it. So that's what it would cost to ship out of the budget to order this IC chip.
Yeah.
And not my commanding officer, but my division officer at the time said, well, why don't you contact Radio Shack and see if they have this IC chip? Because at the time, Radio Shack was still a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? They were getting ready to go out of business, but they were still a thing. And I contacted them, and lo and behold, they had it. I was like, well, can you tell me how much it costs? They told me it cost 99 cents. 99 cents. So they upcharged.
There's a 1,500% markup.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
So I drove to Radio Shack and picked it up, put that IC chip in the card, and the card worked. We put it back in the equipment, and it worked.
That is fucking insane.
So that just goes to show you.
They're just justifying that cost.
To justify the cost.
Wow.
Because if you're the only player in town, you can set the prices to whatever it is that you want.
Yeah, that's why monopolies are illegal.
That's why monopolies exist. Yeah. And essentially what they did is they've monopolized everything that the military purchases.
Yeah.
So anything that gets purchased, you only have one person that you can go to because they've won the government contract.
Yeah.
Well, once they've won the government contract, they can set the prices to whatever it is that they want.
That is so fucking insane that they can do that.
But
sometimes people will ask the question. It's like, why doesn't such and such government do this? Don't they know that would be the right thing to do? And the answer to that question is, it's not that they don't know what the right thing is to do. It's they're going to do what makes the money.
Right. Correct.
It is in no way it's in no way okay to jack the price of something up 1,500% for any reason whatsoever. I don't care what it is or who you're selling it to.
No.
The only reason you would do that is because you can do that.
Right.
Speaking of monopolies, Wesley showed me a picture the other day of something new that Walmart has in stock. The Tush toy.
Oh, yeah.
Walmart sells fucking butt plugs now and masturbators. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah, eye level with like children.
Yeah. Back in my day, if you wanted to buy a butt plug, you had to go to the butt plug store.
Right. You had to go to the novelty shop.
Yeah. So Walmart is somehow skirting all of the monopoly laws. They're eventually going to be the place where everybody goes for everything.
Right.
And once everyone else is out of business, Walmart will say, well, hey, we're the only player in town now.
Right.
We can charge a 1,500% markup on the butt plug.
Right. I've made a very conscious decision to not go in Walmart.
I tried to not go to Walmart if I can.
Especially like, number one, like when they were having all these issues with like supply chain and everything, like with the meat, there was never any meat in Walmart.
Yeah.
Ever.
The only place I could find meat was the butcher.
You couldn't find it.
Down the street from here, yeah.
When I went to Ingles, always meat. There's meat everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's the only thing I can think. And Publix usually had a fairly decent meat selection too. Is like, well, what's going on with your supply chain?
Yeah.
That you're having this issue.
Yeah. Like you're on like a different supply chain.
You're on a different supply chain.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can think is that they've gotten so big that I think there's a point with a company where it reaches critical mass, and it's like, and things just start to break down.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work.
Too big to operate.
They're too big to operate. It's like all these conglomerates, like GE.
Yeah.
Like GE got way too big, and so now they're having to pull everything back. Right.
Yeah.
So they're selling off like pieces of the company.
Yeah.
To try to get it back down to a manageable size.
Right.
And I think that happens with everything. Like the company that I left, their whole thing for a long time was purchasing other companies.
Yeah.
So they were like buying up like all the intellectual property from everybody else, right? But you get to a point where you've got all this stuff, but you're not making any money anymore.
Yeah.
Because
your cost is so high.
Your cost is so high to have all these things.
Yeah.
And they lost like 5% of their company.
Oof.
And like this was like they were the player in the meat industry.
Yeah.
Like the biggest company in the meat industry. Like they made $250 million in profit. Like net profit.
Yeah.
Per quarter.
That's crazy.
They were a $1 billion like in profit is what they were making.
A year.
And they were using this to purchase all these companies.
Yeah. So when you get to that size and you have that much reach and that much influence, and you start losing money, the immediate thing to do is jack prices up.
Right.
So that's why you see, prices start skyrocketing. When it comes down to like 6 people, which I'm pretty sure that's how it is right now, like 6 families own everything.
Right.
Every single thing. You mean to
it's like, have you ever seen the little chart that they have where it's like Kellogg owns like all this stuff?
Like Kellogg and Nestle and like 2 other families.
Right.
The Walton family. Disney owns like everything that's like creative at this point.
Yeah.
Any kind of creative property. Except for Chug Jug, the Fortnite song. So let's go ahead and bring in the podcast right quick because we're pretty far into the episode. Yeah. We just started bitching about things. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 46th episode of the Thicc Bois podcast. Our Super Cringe Thursday pick for this week, I knew that it was going to be a good one to send to Wesley because if you have listened to the podcast for any length of time now, you know that Wesley hates singing and performances.
This one was bad.
It's really bad.
It was very bad.
It incorporates a lot of the things that I don't like.
Exactly. But I still don't think it's as bad as them subjecting everybody else to it in the middle of an ice cream shop.
Yeah.
Like, it's still very cringy.
It's still very, very cringy.
It's very, very cringy. However, it's not like performative where like people can't get away.
Yeah. Like if you, so like, okay, so the video is kind of layered because there's a song that a performer did a while back called American Boy. And then it got covered by a 7-year-old kid who turned all the lyrics Fortnite related. And that video, of course, is very cringy. Well, then these people, which I'm pretty sure is the same people who were the ice cream shop singers.
I think they were.
I think it's the same family. They did a cover of it, but they made a whole music video where the kids get sucked into the Fortnite world, and they're singing about playing Fortnite, this, that, and the other. The thing that really gets me is it's just so it seems exploitative of the children, of those two boys doing that. They look like they're into it. But I think they're into it because their parents wanted them to be into it.
Right. I don't think that they came up with that idea.
Right. Because the parents are wearing Fortnite costumes. Ugh. And they're singing in the background and dancing and all this. And they're doing this in the neighborhood, out in the street, where their neighbors can see.
I think the thing that makes it so gross is the kids obviously aren't concerned with the monetary gain from doing this, but the parents are very concerned with it.
Very concerned with it.
Right? Because all the parents are seeing is dollar signs. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pimp my kid out for this music video.
Fucking YouTube families, man. Ugh. It's just...
But it's when kids do something cringy, I don't mind so much when kids do something cringy, especially kids. Like that because they're kids.
Yeah.
Right? Autumn will do fucking stuff sometimes ugh.
Yeah.
Right? But she's a child.
Yeah, she doesn't know better.
She doesn't know any better.
Yeah, my problem is definitely with the parents on this
one. Right. You should know better.
Yeah.
You've been alive long enough now.
The part at the end where they're doing Fortnite dances.
Ugh. And it's not the kids, it's the parents.
It's the parents. They're flossing. The guy's in the banana costume and doing the Fortnite dance.
Right. It would be different if it was just the two kids the whole time and the parents are if you want to do this, I'll film you doing it.
Yeah. I don't want to be in it.
But I don't want to be in it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, this 45-year-old man put on a Fortnite banana costume and flossed in front of a camera. Look at me too. I'm here too. Give me attention. Ugh. It's gross.
Just be fucking middle-aged like the rest of us and just shut up and go to work.
Just be sad like everyone else. They when I watched that video, it recommended another one, and it was a YouTube short by those same people, and they were all in their Fortnite costumes. It's just a short of them singing the song, but there's no backing music. No. So they're just singing.
I bet it's worse.
It is entirely worse because now it's this TikTok format. So it's just a quick injection, a quick of cringe. Yeah, just right into the veins. Yeah.
Just fucking straight mainlining some fucking TikTok cringe.
Oh God, it's so gross. It's gross because it's I can definitely tell that, it's their idea. It's the parents' idea.
Right. This was not the children's
This was not the children's idea whatsoever. But it's hard to say that the kids are I feel like the kids are enjoying it.
Right.
I think the kids are enjoying it because they're we're spending time with our parents and they're doing the things we like to do.
Right.
Of course, we're kids. We love Fortnite.
Right.
And our parents are interested in this. They think that's what's going on.
Right.
But it's what you
but
said.
That is not what's going on.
What's really going on is they're seeing dollar signs.
Right.
And those little Gen Z haircuts.
Right.
It's just not good.
Right. Yeah. My problem with it is not the children.
Yeah.
The kids for me, like I said, they don't know any better. They're just doing stuff that they enjoy doing. And guess what? All kids do fucking cringy stuff. It's just that's just what happens.
I did cringy stuff.
I did cringy stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody does cringy stuff. You look back, you'll be laying there in bed, go, ah.
Yeah. Oh no! I remember this. I remember this.
I always give children a pass because I'm look, there's going to be so much stuff that you're going to do that you're going to regret later.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's part of growing up. That's part of life.
Yeah.
But you want to look at the parents and go, you should know better.
You should know better.
You should know better.
Matter of fact, I know you know better.
Right.
You chose to do it anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. And film it and put it on the internet for strangers. Right. A bunch of weirdos are looking at your kids now.
Right. Well, it's sort of when you see people that are mentally handicapped, because people that are mentally handicapped, they don't ever grow up into like what a mature adult thought process might be, right? So like if they do something that's cringy, you're like, I'm giving you a pass.
They don't have the capacity to understand that it's cringe.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's like they're still a kid. They're still a child.
They're basically just a kid in an
right.
adult body.
They had no choice in this.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure if they had a choice, they wouldn't want to. Like they would want to be able to have the thought process maybe of like an adult, or maybe they don't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's better to live that way.
It would almost be the same thing as if this family had like a cousin or something who had like Down syndrome, and he was like 38, and they were making him do Fortnite dances and stuff.
Because he'd probably enjoy doing it.
Yeah, but but
at the same time, like it's not like I wouldn't judge that person for doing that. However,
I'm judging you for doing it.
I'm judging you for doing it. I would certainly judge you for putting him in there. Because like you said, for me, when I see that, all I'm seeing is the adults being like, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Dancing on their pot of gold.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just sort of just, it's gross. Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't do that.
No.
I wouldn't do that to my kids.
No.
Because they're going to grow up one day and they're going to say, you remember when you made us do that?
Right.
And we were relentlessly mocked online by internet strangers?
Right.
And then the parents were like, yeah, but we bought a Bugatti or whatever it was.
It's like, it's different, like, if, like, you filmed it or whatever, and then, like, later on, like, you're laughing with your kids or whatever, but, like, you remember that time I did that really cringy thing and you filmed me doing it? Yeah. Thank you for not uploading that to the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff like that. I think we're about to have some company. Come in. Hello. Hello. Oh, gosh. Oh, shit.
Oh.
We'll try not to spill the coffee. So, yeah, as you may have heard, we just had the stampede come into the room.
It's like the Christmas Story with the bumpuses with the dogs.
The dogs, stampeding through the house. But the funniest part of that part to me is when he slams the door. The dog's ears stuck in the door. Well, I guess real quick before we run out of time, thanks, Lex. Thanks, Lola. Let's talk about our Super Creepy Friday post.
Oh, yeah.
So, for anybody who didn't see it, was this like found footage? Because the way the video kind of made it seem was like they found a camera down in the catacombs, and then they were describing what.
Right. So, from what I've gathered, is that this was aired on like national television. I think they
like some kind of like Discovery Channel, History Channel.
Yeah, I think it's at like ABC or something like in the bottom right hand corner of it. And so I think what they stated was that they like found this camera down in the Paris catacombs of like this guy that was down there, I guess by himself.
Yeah. Like
going down through there or whatever. So they made it seem as if they like stumbled upon like this camera, like laying down there, which chances are that's probably not what happened.
Yeah.
Right, but that's not the point. The point is that obviously this person is in the catacombs.
Yeah, like deep into the catacombs. He's so far into the catacombs that there's no graffiti on the walls.
Right, right.
Like even the people who went down there to be little degenerates were like, I'm not going that far.
Yeah, not that far.
Yeah.
So like he's like way deep into the catacombs, which number one, that's scary enough.
Yeah.
Because now you have to find your way back out of it.
Mm-hmm. And it's like labyrinthian down there.
Right. So
because that's just where they put the dead people.
Right.
Look at so many people. Was it Paris? Yeah. It's Paris. So they're chopping people's heads off in France.
You got to put them somewhere.
What do we do with all these people that we chopped up? Put them underground, under the city somewhere.
So like he's going through the catacombs or whatever, and then he starts like breathing harder, right? Obviously something has gotten his heart rate up. Yeah. And then he starts running.
He's running.
running. And then he drops the camera and you hear him run away.
Yeah, like down like the hall.
Right.
It's kind of funny like too cuz like the way he dropped the camera makes it seem like part of like a horror movie.
Right.
Cuz it kind of falls on its side and it's like filming his feet running away.
So like it's not necessarily that I don't believe that it's real.
Yeah.
However, the idea
the
or
situation.
the situation
Yeah.
is very unnerving.
Yeah, because think about being there, right? And that camera being like your only source of light.
Right.
And like you're that far deep into the catacombs, of course you're going to start hearing things.
Right.
And you're going to see like shadows moving and stuff like that.
Right.
Because, when you're in a situation like that and you start to get scared and you start to kind of freak yourself out, your brain starts like kind of manifesting these things. Something's over there. What is that? Who is this? I was reading about the kind of like the construction of the catacombs and things like that, and talking about like almost everybody who goes down there says will claim to have seen something or heard something or along those lines, and it could be the whole hypervigilance, like human brain tricking you into thinking you are seeing those things. But the way that the wind moves through the catacombs is Lex.
I think there's probably some sugar on my hands.
The way that the wind moves through the catacombs causes what did they call it? Not subtones. Basically some kind of auditory like frequency that the brain hears, and it causes hallucinations.
Don't like that.
So those people down there are literally seeing things that are freaking them out just because of the brain and frequency, the audio frequency. And so how like they'll have like the old like hotels and like creepy hotels you can go stay in and things like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of old buildings, the way that they were built and the materials that they were built with would cause the same effect.
Really?
Just like the air movement inside the house would happen at such a frequency that it would cause people to freak out and see things. So you have like those old like Victorian homes where they're like, old Mrs. Grimswald used to live here, and she one day flew through the ceiling, and something like that. And so people go and they stay there like haunted Airbnbs and stuff,
right? And
they get freaked out because they see those things.
Right, and it's always funny, too, like with the haunted places and everything. It's never like, this place was built in 2003.
It's never like ghosts. It's like, sup, bro?
Yeah. Yeah, there's never like, it's always like some house that was built like in the 1700s. It's like a 200-year-old house or something like that.
And that's the reason why, is because like the way that they built houses and the way things were constructed back then, it's crazy to think that your brain is susceptible to itself.
Right.
So like everybody's probably at some point been like outside in the dark.
Right.
And your brain immediately is like, I'm in control and we're scared of everything. So your brain, it's crazy to think that your brain almost kind of acts just like these two separate entities where it's making up the thing that the other half of the brain is scared of.
Right. Right. It's like, I hope you're ready to be scared.
Yeah,
because that's what we're doing now.
We're going to do a whole lot of that.
I mean, yeah, I guess it makes sense that it's just odd that certain materials and certain ways that things are constructed would make the air act in such a way that your brain, it does something to your brain. It makes you think that things are there that are not really there.
Right. Well, it's crazy too because that's just happened to be that's how they were building things back then. So they had no idea that they were causing that.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to find that out until many, many, many years later.
Right.
So it kind of makes you wonder what other things were causing people to hallucinate. Like, remember that fungus that grew on the wheat, like you were talking about?
Right.
That they
made people freak out and think that there were witches.
They had no way to know that they were seeing all that shit because they were high.
Right.
They had no idea.
Yeah, because they just kind of stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Because you would think that if it was something more than that it would have lasted a lot longer than it did. Like there would still be witch hunts 20, 30 years down the road.
Yeah, that shit
they would
was
still
real.
Be doing that, but it just sort of stopped.
Yeah.
They just sort of stopped doing it, right?
It's, think about like ancient civilizations, like the different like gods and things that they believed in, and like the different stories they had about the shit that they saw. It starts to make sense when you consider like this person might have ate like a bad berry and had like a terrible trip.
Right.
They would have had no way of knowing that that's what that was.
Right.
And they just told some guy who also got high and saw a thing. He's like, yeah, that tracks. I've seen some pretty crazy shit.
Well, it's very interesting when was it like DMT or something like that a lot of people have the same hallucinations. Like they see the same thing.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Another weird thing too is like people who like lucid dream.
Yeah.
Or people that have had night terrors. So a lot of times people will have night terrors. It happens when they sleep on their back. Mm-hmm. And so they'll have this so what happens is like the brain the body thinks that it's asleep.
Right.
And the brain is wide awake. So once you realize that you can't move your body, the brain panics and then starts hallucinating and seeing things.
Right.
And there's this common recurrence of people seeing a man in a hat.
Really?
And they all describe him the exact same way. Like a dude in California sees him and a dude in like New York saw him. It's the same guy.
How odd.
So that is so strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, the likely answer to that is that, anatomically, humans are very similar.
Right.
We're also very different, but we're also very, very similar in the way that things work. Like everybody has a heart that pumps blood through their body.
Right.
So things like that on that level. So there could be this through line in our biology that, if the conditions are met, just like if such and such is operating under the line over here, such and such is operating above the line over here, but if the conditions line up just right, something happens, and there's that we all had that same connection.
Right.
I don't think there's any kind of telepathic link. I think it's just baked into our biology.
Yeah, I mean, I guess isn't that interesting though that you have all these different. Nobody lives the same life. Everybody has different experiences and everything like that. But they're like that, like with this man in the hat, or like people that have DMT trips. They see like the same thing, right?
A lot of people see jaguars.
Yeah, or like elves or something like that, right? So there's always like these. It's like the same thing that like occurs or like appears, right?
Yeah.
Which you would think that with all the different things that you've experienced throughout your life, you're not the same as this other person over here. So what would cause it? Like you said, is it something that's baked into your biology?
Yeah.
Like in this deep-seated part of your brain, like your lizard brain?
Way back in the lizard brain.
Yeah, way back in the lizard brain that like is causing this to happen?
Or it could be something about the chemical itself.
Perhaps, yeah.
Because it's the same chemical. If two people take the same chemical and hallucinate, there could be an explanation as to why they see the same things.
Right.
Because it's the same chemical. I remember reading a real long time about instincts and migratory patterns, like for birds, and like how does the bird know, like to fly to the same watering hole,
right,
4,000 miles away every time of year? How does he know to do that? Just instinctively, he knows to do that.
Yeah.
Well, the idea was that those instincts, especially when it comes to migratory patterns and things like that, are passed down from the parents through memories. Memories are passed down.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because you think about the way a brain works. A memory in your mind has to take up some kind of physical space because it's data.
Right.
And data needs physical space in order to exist.
Right.
So, the blueprint from the mama bird and the dad bird mix and they go to the child. There's a chance that slips through there.
Well, also, too, it's that we don't really know how memories are stored.
Yeah.
Like we think that it was like they're stored in the brain. In what?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
In
just
what?
In that.
In the synapses?
Yeah.
Like, do we know that that's how it's stored? Like with a computer, obviously it's stored in this solid state drive or on a hard drive, right? It's etched into this disk.
Yeah.
Right? But
it works the same way as like writing it on a piece of paper.
Right. But for us, it's like where is it put? Like where do we put memories? Like where are they? Like you think that they're in your brain, but you don't know for a fact.
Are they just kind of like dissipate amongst all the gray matter?
Right, exactly. So it's like, is it that it's etched into your DNA somehow? Is like, because if what you're saying is correct, then when you pass on these things to your children, it would have to be somehow etched into your DNA.
Yeah. Like in your very biology.
Right.
I don't know, man. I think that, it's like I said before, like the life that we live is very measurable.
Right.
And you can put a number to almost anything. So it would be cool to see if science ever gets to the point where they can like hook your brain up to a computer and be like, oh, like we see the memory you have of like, watching your best friend fall off a cliff.
Right.
And we can just take that out.
Right.
So that you don't have to worry about that anymore. It'd be interesting to see if they could do something like that.
Right.
Or if they, find the point where they get to the point where it's like there's so many questions that have arisen from questions that the only logical answer is not everything is measurable, that we exist somewhere outside of this physical reality.
Right.
Which would be a really scary thing to learn.
Right. Well, I mean, it's sort of like if they were able to remove memories, though, like that sort of takes away kind of what it means to be human. Like,
True.
I don't think that I would want anybody removing bad memories because all of the things that I've experienced and all the memories that I have make up the person that I am now. So
like who you are is kind of the culmination of everything.
Right. So if you start taking memories away, then you're changing the person that I am.
Yeah. That does open a door and set a precedence, because if they could use it for that, say you had like somebody who was like a serial killer, they could kind of go in and look at the brain and see, here's exactly what's going on.
Right.
And they could remove that piece, and not like a lobotomy, but like take that data in your brain, whatever that is, out.
Just remove it.
And remove it and make them a normal person. Then it becomes like, okay, we're going to start doing this to everybody and make everybody like the perfect citizen, and then you have a dystopia.
Exactly, because I think a lot of things start out with them trying to do good.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, we're not trying to hurt anybody by doing this.
Yeah.
But then you have some schmuck,
some politician
that comes along and goes, "Hey, I can use this for my advantage."
Yeah, some army general's like, we could turn this into a weapon.
Exactly, because that's what everything turns into, right?
Eventually.
It's like there's some type of like scientific breakthrough. Some scientist goes, "This could help humanity," and like they come up with like some type of way to turn waste into like water or something like that. And then somebody goes, "Oh, well, we can use the hydrogen to create a bigger bomb."
Yeah,
like so we can like hit them with a fucking garbage bomb.
Garbage bomb. So we could turn all the water in their body into poop. The poop ray.
Speaking of rays, have you ever seen, there was like a History Channel thing at one time where they had a death ray.
They did have a death ray. Yeah.
They had a death ray.
It was basically a microwave oven with a door open.
And they were saying like you couldn't really point it at anything. It just kind of oozed out everywhere.
They were like, the idea is you point this thing at the enemy lines, and it would make them so uncomfortable that they would retreat.
Yeah.
It just cooked everybody when they turned it on. Turn it off! Turn it off!
Yeah, because I remember reading that, and they were just kind of like oozed out of it and kind of went everywhere, and everybody's like, "Ah!"
Yeah, they were microwaving themselves. Yeah. What a fucking way to go.
Yeah, they're like, no, you can't point it at anything.
Yeah, it's radiation.
It just comes out everywhere.
It's going to go where it goes.
The 40s, the 30s and 40s were such a weird time.
Yeah.
Because they had like the World's Fair in Germany where there were like all of these like concept models and ideas for everything. Like everybody had like a concept idea. It's interesting to see like what they thought things were going to be and then what everything became.
Yeah, it's like when you see those drawings like from old magazines and stuff, like, this is what the future will look like in the far off year of 2002.
Yeah.
And there's like a dude who's got like a propeller hat, but he's wearing like a brown trench coat and his business bag. He's just like flying through the air. Like, this will be how you travel to your job.
Yeah. Instead, there's just like some soulless Dodge Ram person driving to work
down the interstate, 50 miles to work every day.
Yeah. Imagine they say that, they go, "Ugh."
Oh God, turn back, turn back. I always thought it would be interesting if you took like say we went and got George Washington, we plucked him out of the past,
yeah,
and we like dropped him in the middle of like Coachella.
Yeah.
Like when he just like his fucking brain would fry.
I think he would go back and he would just like look at the British and go, "I don't care anymore.
I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter what happens." It doesn't matter. I've seen where we're headed.
Yeah. And
hell is every direction.
I don't like it. Yeah, I guess it's just always interesting because I guess like I don't know if it's just you look back in the past and everything seems to like have more charm. Like,
yeah.
Like you look at like the Roaring 20s, right? Like, everybody had, like, these long-nosed cars.
Yeah.
And they wore suits everywhere and, like, a top hat.
Like wing-tipped shoes.
Yeah, wing-tipped shoes. Like, there was more style, more class.
That everybody was kind of zhuzhed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then...
Little do they know that 10 years down the road, it was going to be the worst economic disaster ever.
And then, like, you just kind of look at, like, everything we have now, today. And I guess with the advent of the internet, everything just progresses so fast, right? Because the information dissemination just kind of just explodes out into everything, right? So, I don't know, just it seems like to me, and it might be nostalgia too, because I feel the same way about the 90s. Maybe it's because that's when I grew up.
Yeah. That's when you were a kid, you had far less to worry about.
Right. And so, as opposed to like now, where it's just like this mass, I don't know what you would even call it.
Yeah.
It's just like
this mass of this tangled like fishball of like stress and worry and like finances and like I had this child that I have to like make sure she doesn't starve to death and like all these things I've got to worry about. When it used to be like, I'm going to play Sonic the Hedgehog today.
Yeah, it's just sort of, I guess it's hard to really separate the two because I'm not the same person that I was back then.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that, when you look back, because you think like, if you look back in like the 1940s and you're like, you're looking at it as you are right now.
Right.
But if you lived in that time, you'd be a totally different person. You wouldn't be the same person. You wouldn't look at the era.
I'm sure that during the 40s it was fucking horrific.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it was terrible. Everything was bad.
Yeah, everything was bad.
Well, everything was bad in comparison to the way things are now.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess what is like, because if you lived during the 40s, you're like, I don't know if we're going to win this war.
Yeah.
Like, the Nazis very well might win.
Yeah, especially because you consider how well it went for them at first, how well it was going for the Nazis at first. They basically took over Europe. Right. Like in a day.
And if it hadn't been for them trying to invade Russia, like they probably would have won.
Yeah. And we just happened to get lucky and get the atomic bomb first.
Right.
Because everybody was trying to get it.
Exactly. Not only that, but they also had jet engine planes.
Yeah. The Nazis had jets.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being some fucking like Royal Air Force fighter, like in your single prop plane, and some guy just. Yeah. And you're like, what the hell was that? Then you explode. Some fucking kraut going fucking Mach 7.
It's like tally ho! Like all of a sudden your plane explodes.
Yeah, I'd beat the sag. Well, I think that's about all we got time for today, everybody. Yeah, so once again, as always, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We hope that you guys have enjoyed. I had mentioned on last week's episode that we are going to miss the next 2 uploads because I'm going to be gone both days that we're going to record, but we'll come back strong, finish off the year.
Is that starting next week?
Yes, starting next week. So the Tuesday that you all hear this episode, the next 2 Tuesdays after that, there will be no episode.
There you go.
So, take it as time to go and re-listen to some of your favorites.
Yeah, or go outside.
Oh, yeah, or go outside. Touch grass. You can yell at us on Facebook or whatever it is you want to do. So, as always, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure to reach out to us on the Facebook page. You can also email us at thickboypodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter. If we said anything that offended you or anything we were flat out wrong about, make sure to send us a correction, and we'll read it out at the end of the podcast on a new segment called I'm Sorry. And also, we have stickers still left over, so if you guys want stickers, make sure to reach out to us, and we will get those to you. Do you have anything else you'd like to close with?
Nope. Just as always, thank you so much for the continued support. If you get a chance, when you listen to this episode, if you have a moment to go and review the podcast, give us a review or a like or a rating on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. I know that everybody does different stuff. There might be a thumbs up or a star rating or something like that, but it helps with the algorithm gods.
Yeah, it really does.
So
it's like a blood sacrifice.
Yeah, it's like a blood sacrifice, just without the blood.
Did you notice that it got like 20 degrees hotter in here when the dogs came in?
It did. They're like heaters.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, everybody, that's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Testing 1, 2, 3. La 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 la. Voice cracked real bad.
I should keep that.